There are three obvious reasons why all of our governmental contracts, permits, and licenses are actually null and void. Number one on our list has to do with the fact that virtually everyone believes we have to have one. Have to have a driver's license, have to have a marriage license. And that's not true. Second reason why all of these contracts are null and void is the legalese these people use. They have their own special meaning for key words and they trick us, so it's another form of deception. So there's two strikes right there that make any contract null and void. It's deception. They trick us into thinking that we need to have a driver's license. And the fact that everyone thinks that is proof right there that it's deceptive. And again, they have their own terminology or their own meaning for key words that when we see it, we think it means something, but no, it means something totally different. And then the third reason is the most important reason. And that has to do with the fact that you cannot transfer your rights. Our rights are not transferable. So that makes all these contracts null and void. And that's how these permits and licenses are set up. When we apply for a license, when we submit for a license, we are supposedly voluntarily giving up our right for a privilege. And then that privilege can be taken away from us. But remember, we can't give away our rights. So right there, it makes it null and void. But see, that's what happens when we enter into a driver's license or a marriage license. We give up our rights in turn for a privilege, which then can be used against us. So we don't need a driver's license. The roads belong to us. We don't need a marriage license. Now, we can still have a certificate of marriage, a common law marriage. That's what they did here in America up to the 1880s or 1890s or so. When people got married, you still went before a preacher and you said the words. But then you didn't get a marriage license. You got a certificate of marriage. They didn't start using the marriage license until we had different people from different races marry one another. But the problem when you get a marriage license is you then make the state a third party, which can then come in and they can take your children, they can take your property, they can adjudicate your divorce. You don't want these guys to be part of your deal. Same thing when you get a driver's license. Also, now we have a split title. Did you know that? You have the equitable title, but they have the legal title, which means they can come in and they tow your car and they can charge you for it. It's a split title. But how do you work within the system? Well, I wanted to get out of that so bad, I finally just gave up, and it's not worth the hassle. But I think when it comes to a point where push comes to shove, you can just tell them, to hell with this. My contract with you is null and void. It's based on deception, deceit. The fact that everyone thinks we have to have one right there tells you that you tricked us and deceived us. And then the fact you're using terminology on purpose for key words to trick us also proves that. But the most important thing is we can't transfer our rights. We have rights and those are not transferable. And yet, that's one of the ways we're being tricked and fooled. And it all goes back to what I always say on my channel. The people who rule the world are psychopaths, they're con artists, they're magicians, they're masters of illusion, they're misdirecting everybody. It's all a magic act. It's all a big con. And that's what is happening to us on this planet. So, what do we do when we get into the system? What's the best way around it? Well, I wish I had a good answer. I'm not going to lie to you. Best thing to do, I guess, is do the best you can and work within the system. But when it comes to at least getting married, don't get a marriage license. Get a certificate of marriage. You can do everything else and no one's ever going to know any different, except you're not going to let the state be a third party and come in and take your children and your property. Doesn't mean they still won't try, right? We see that happening all the time, don't we? Yep. We've got a bad system, don't we? It's based on maritime law. And where do we start about? You know, I was thinking about this a moment ago. I think if there's one thing we should try to do collectively, individually, is get that darn gold fringe flag out of the courtroom that they started putting back in the 50s. All of our government buildings and courtrooms don't have the American constitutional flag anymore. It has that yellow or gold fringe around the border. It's no longer America. Do you know that? The law of four borders? When you walk into a courtroom and there's that flag, you're no longer even in America. And it goes back to maritime law. When ships sailed out into the ocean, they had their flags to designate what country they're from, so that when you're going to deal with people, you got to obey my laws. You come onto my ship. As soon as you step onto my ship, because of the law of four corners, because of that flag, maritime law, you're now on the property of that country. You're on their soil. Same thing happens when you go to an embassy. Now that's where the law of four corners happens. When you got a flag and you're a foreign country in another country, inside those four walls, four corners, you're on different land, different property. Same thing happens in all of our courtrooms right now. There's no justice in America. We should demand, number one, we should do that right off the bat. Get those damn flags out of our courtrooms. Put the constitutional flag back in there, so then they can't claim we're in a different country, we got our own laws, and we'll do whatever we want. That's basically what happens when a judge says this is my court. It's because of the law of four corners and that gold yellow fringe around the flag. According to that law, it's his court. He can do anything he wants, just like the captain of a ship can do anything he wants. Marry you, have you walk the plank, whatever. So, what are we going to do? How do we start that movement? I don't know. That's not my expertise. But that's my job, is to try to organize all of us on the hero's journey to help us realize there's revolutions all over the place. If your expertise is in that area, that's where you can work downstream in addition to going upstream and getting us reconnected. All types of revolutions we need to join. And I know my limitations. I don't have expertise in a lot of areas, but some of you guys do. And now that you understand this better, these are things that you guys can work on. And when enough of us around this planet find the revolution that we can work on and do our job, this planet is in for a treat.